Hello, blessed and beloved jewelry community. Welcome to this live tutorial because it's going to be a tutorial. So it's Friday night here in Mexico City, and we are going to go with one of the requests here from Vietnam Crafts. You can find that request on the video number 5 here, one of my favorite tutorials. And Vietnam Crafts asked, could you please create a video about Miyuki Delica bracelets? Thanks. So I answered that this is a great idea and that I will. And here we are. If you're following my social media, and you should, my Instagram or my Facebook or YouTube channel, you know that I did already published a project, a render, a version of that bracelet a couple of weeks ago. This is this one. So the tutorial is going to be with Blender, okay, and we're going to start modeling, but also I'm going to explain first before we go to Blender. Here is Blender. We're going to use Blender 3.0 Alpha, one of the latest release. My release is from last week of Blender, so I'm generally using one of the latest build of Blender, and it's working great. Honestly, it's working great. Okay, so first, before we go to modeling, like I always say, we should first study what is a Miyuki bead or Miyuki Delica bracelet, because we're not supposed to know. So let's go to the internet. Let's go to Chrome first. Let's go to Chrome. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to explain just simply go Miyuki beads. What are we going to find? Well, let's go to the official Miyuki Beads Corporation Japan. So Miyuki is actually a very traditional Japanese craft. They're almost 100 years old, a bit less. Actually, you can go, the website is good because there's a lot of information, and you can go to history here. And well, there's 70 plus 20 years. They're 91 years old as a business, as a bead fabric. So you can read the story, and you should read it. It's interesting. So it's a long family tradition, and that's why I'm very interested in this request, because I love doing things that are very modern, because 3D modeling is quite modern still, and also mixing with tradition, which is a very good example working with Miyuki beads. So here we are, and well, obviously that kind of jewelry is not generally the kind of jewelry that I do, because this is more like a jewelry craft, and I'm more a goldsmithing jeweler. I work gold, I work silver, and my tradition is very different. So here we are in a different field of the jewelry horizon. But obviously, during all the years that I had the jewelry school, that I need to remember people that the school is now forever closed, because came the pandemic. I was already, well, actually, yes, tired and bored and sad of teaching from Monday to Saturday. But anyway, it was a great project, great experience. I teach during 17 years, and here we are again. So beads, glass beads. So obviously the Miyuki beads are famous for their quality, and there are many colors, effects like the metallic beads, and there are many shapes. And the Miyuki Delica bead is a specific shape and size. So we are going to keep using the website to have a look at the sizes, because there are sizes. Okay, here we can get the size and shape of seed beads. Okay, so every size and shape has names and codes, and what I liked about the website is that we can find the correct information about the sizes of the beads, because we are going to make these beads in Blender in 3D. So it's always important to have the correct information about the sizes. Actually, without the proper size, I would not be here making this video about the Miyuki beads and about making a Miyuki Delica bracelet using Blender and designing that in 3D. So we go down the list and we're gonna find that there are Delica beads. So a Miyuki Delica bead bracelet is a bracelet made of that type of bead, which is cylindrical. And if you obviously then you need to read about patterns, because there are many designs, and it's quite fun because on the Miyuki website you can also find some examples of patterns. Let's see. Okay, project, I think it's in project. Okay, and here you can see different types of designs made using the beads, and different techniques for stitching the beads. And obviously it's a lot of fun to make this in 3D. And there are also a lot of metal findings that they have in their catalogs, because we'll have to model the endings of the bracelet, and we're going to make them metallic. Generally, they're not made of gold. They're made of brass with maybe a gold finish, a gold bath, gold plated. But generally, they're made of different metals, and there are many ranges of prices. Okay, so obviously for this tutorial, we are going to make a very general design, a very general pattern. But okay, so today, the goal of today for the time I have, because well, generally I'm going to be streaming during 2 hours, so that's already quite long, and then I will have to rest obviously. But the goal of this tutorial is, in the first part we're going to model the bracelets as much as we can. And in the second part, if there's more modeling that must be done, finish the modeling and make obviously the render, because let's see a Miyuki bracelet. Because obviously to create the patterns, the colors for the bracelet, for the shading, for the materials, you are going to need some pretty good tricks, a pretty good technique to do this. And obviously I already made my own technique to do that in a very interesting, efficient way that we're going to see in Blender, obviously, but that will be in another tutorial some other day. So the first thing we need to check is the proper size, like I already said. So let's go back to the sizes, size and shapes. And I'm going to comment something about the size, because if you look at the size, the information about the size, we have 1.6 that's in millimeters. So this is, and they're very small beads. You're going to see that the design of the bracelet is going to have more than 1,000 beads, and that's quite common. Not because we're going to do something very intricate or very complex. It's going to be complex in the pattern somehow. And the modeling is interesting also because we need to stitch the beads, because we are going to model it in a realistic way, and because it's also funnier. So the size 1.6, that's the diameter on the outside. That's the Delica bead 11, which is one of the most used one, the favorite ones. That's what I read in many. Well, you can check some other tutorials of people sewing, making the bracelets with needles. By example, that's a very common technique to make these bracelets, using needles to stitch all the beads. And what about that? And see them do that in real life. That's obviously what I did before starting making this in 3D, because you need to make some research about what you're going to do in 3D. So the more you know about what you're about to model, the best you'll do, and the more fun you will have. All right. So we have 1.6, that's on the outside, and 0.8 on the inside. That's the size of the hole. You can always check that at the top of the list here, size, and you can see that the size is outside diameter in millimeter and the hole size. So 0.8 millimeters, that's already less than 1 millimeter. So the hole is already pretty small, 8 decimals. Okay, so let's go back. But there is something that we don't have. It's the width of the bead. And that information, you won't find it like that. So before we model all of that, we're going to go to my hard drive somewhere, because I am going to show you how to properly find the measurements. So you can use, what you need to do from the website is take this picture. You can save it as save the image. You will save the image, and so here I set the image. Okay, so here to find the size, there is a way to bring the image. It's an example, it's a way to do that. Just bring the image in a vector graphic software like Corel, like Adobe Illustrator, and we are going to check the measure here. So if you can see the square, this is a vector square, and we can see the size 16 millimeters, which is I made it 10 times bigger on screen so we can see the pixels and have a lot of precision. So that's the size, well, at scale 110, it's 10 times bigger. And this is the width. And we can see that they're not totally square on the side. The side is a bit smaller, it's 13. And obviously because it's 10 times bigger, it's going to be 1.3 millimeters. Okay, so now we have all the data we need to make. Well, it's a very simple cylinder, honestly, and but nonetheless, we need all that information before we go to Blender. So step one, we're going to, okay, so here in Blender we have cylinders, etc., but we have no tube. So we are going to work first with a cylinder. I'm going to make it at a very nice resolution. Let's go with a 120 vertices here. Okay. And the rest of the sizes, we're going to give it using the N menu. So we can go out this, N, come back window, here we are. So location 0, 0, 0, let's enter our bead. We're going to work from the top view and the sizes. So dimension, We are going to work at 1.6, 1.6, and the thickness or the width in this specific occasion, 1.3. Like I already show how to make that measurement. Okay, so these are the sizes on the outside. Now we are going to make a Control A, all transforms. Don't forget to save your project at the beginning. Put a name to the project, obviously, and save your file. Okay, now we're going to make a copy of this. Shift D, Enter. So, like the website says very well, the inside is 0.8. Okay, so let's go at 0.8, and we can make this pretty big. We just need we are going to make a Boolean. You could build it differently, but it's okay. I already tested many methods, and so okay, this that's the bead. It's going to make a Boolean. Use a fast solver difference, and you drill the inside. Oops. It's not even okay. Make it exact. If the fast one doesn't work, generally the exact one works. This is very simple geometry, so it should not make much problems. Okay, then we are going to add a small bevel. So let's go at 0.02 maybe, 0.03. So a simple bevel, it makes the bead close to what it is in reality. They have a small fillet on the outside, generally, because of the way they're manufactured. And this is the proper Miyuki Delica bead number 11, based on the real sizes that we can find on the Miyuki website. Okay, so we can make a copy of this. If you want to make other sizes, I advise you to make copy of the meshes you use to make and create this shape. Now this is the copy, and the copy we're going to make the object convert to mesh. Okay, so now the geometry is very clean. I'm going to leave it as a flat shading for now. It's not really much a problem to change that later. And what we're going to change though is the orientation. We need to rotate this because I want to build all the pattern of the bracelets here. Like, we're going to do something with a bit more colors than that one, but these patterns are interesting, or something like this. These are very common patterns for these type of bracelets. So something geometric with colors, that's something what we're going to build. But that will be for the second part of this tutorial. And I want the correct orientation. There are many orientations that you can, well, many. Let's say there are 3 basics. From bottom to the top, from left to right, that's a different orientation. And you can use by example, 45 degrees orientation. Let's see if there is, because when you look, okay, here you can see that the heart has a 45 degrees bead orientation, okay? This is one example. Most of the time, the beads go from the bottom to the top, which would be from right to left in this side, in this orientation. But because we're going to make the first bead, it's going to be, okay, you can go to learn more about the pattern and the stitches. You can go to project, and let's go to bracelets. Okay, bracelets are already here, and let's see. Okay, this one is a good example. We can download the PDF, and it's going to open the PDF. Okay, so here in this schematic, You are going to find the schematics. That's why also the website they have is interesting, because they have pattern and schematics for many projects. Okay. Well, here they're going from left to right. They're stitching like this. Okay, they're going from left to right and bottom to top. You can see the orientations. But I'm going to go from left to right and from bottom to top. What does that mean now in 3D? Well, it means that we need to rotate. We're going to rotate the bead like this, 90 degrees on the x-axis, and now this means that we're going to stitch the beads from bottom to top and from left to right. So now from here, we are going to use simple arrays. So let's go to array, and first from bottom to top. So it's not on the x factor, it's on the y factor. And let's have a look at okay, Control A, rotation, thank you, because obviously that's what we should get without any kind of problem or whatever. And we are going to put, because there are wires, which are generally they're nylon wires. There are metallic wires, nylon wires, I think, plastic wires, elastic wires. There are several types for these type of jewelry crafts. There are, but you can also actually, let's go keep on. Let's read a bit more here. Let's search. Miyuki bracelets wire. And we should find some images of the findings of the product. Okay, nylon wire. Okay, this is perfect. Okay, so these type of nylon wires, that's what we're going to use also for the material for the render. And they have specific sizes. Let's see, well, let's see this blue one, which is actually the color I'm going to use. Okay, what's the size of this? The size. Well, actually here we can't find the thickness of the wire. So you see, it's not always so straightforward or easy to find the correct real size of the findings of the beads of the jewelry component, because obviously there are some parts of the business that are kept, or well, kept secret somehow. Yes indeed, because we don't really want anybody and everybody to be doing this. Okay, so we need to talk about sizes. All right, so let's find, because I know the size I want to use, which is 0.3 millimeters for the wiring between the beads, for the stitching. But I just want to confirm. Let's try to confirm. Maybe on Amazon we're going to find that information. They should, because it's obviously one of the first question. What's the caliber of the wire? Does it say? Okay, it says number 11, which is the gauge. We can check gauge 11, and that's and okay, that's not even real, because that would be 3 millimeters, so it's not the same gauge. It might be another unit. Okay, or maybe it's so obvious because yeah, generally, or maybe on the Miyuki website. Let's have a look at nylon thread. Okay, let's try to find maybe nylon thread, Miyuki nylon thread. Thickness, please. Okay, perfect. This is perfect. Here we have one information. So actually it's half of what I was thinking, and that's better because it's going to be a better, a finer version. I'm going to make not the same version that I already did. I'm going to make another pattern, another realism to this. And we're going to use a wire of 0.15 millimeters. So that's 1.5 decimals. So that in Blender is, I'm going to bring a Bezier curve here as a reference. And we are going to go to the geometry for that here. And okay, let's remember that in the newer versions of Blender, we can directly use a round bevel, and the depth is going to be the thickness, and it's the diameter. So we need here to go at 0.0075, which remember that if that's the radius, the diameter, it's double of that, and we are going to get the 0.15 millimeters in real life. So we get this. And I'm sorry, there's 1 0 too much, 0.0575. Okay, perfect. So we can see that the scale of the nylon wire, which are, I am going to use Bezier curves to make the stitches, the wires, the nylon wires. We can see that the scale is, it's matching. The scale is really matching. And we are going to have stitches on the outside, but there are some wires going between every row. And that means that you need to give some space for the wire between all the beads. Even if in real life, the nylon wire has some elasticity, it might be a bit compressed between the beads with the tension of the craft of the work, but we are going to leave a good space. So this is all because I'm talking about making, we are going to make the full array for the entire bracelet with just 2 arrays, but we need to give the proper sizes and spaces to the beads if we want to make a real looking Miyuki bracelet in 3D using Blender, obviously. All right, so this means that this factor here is a bit more, and that's why I went and checked the size for the wire, the real wire. So this is this one, okay? And okay, like I said, it might be a bit compressed, but I'm going to give, okay, this space is just a bit, really slightly less than the size of the wire, okay? So now that I have the proper spacing, I can put in the correct, I want 11 beads per column. So because this is going to be the width of the bracelet, of the entire bracelet. Let's go see patterns and bracelet again around here. Okay, so it's going to be the width. So here we can count the beads. It had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 beads. And obviously when you want a center geometric pattern, you are going to need an even number of beads, okay, like 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. And because I want a pretty wide bracelet, because it's more attractive, I think That's why I choose like, let's say here we can count, do we have 1, 2, 3, they have more here, they are a lot more, 13 beads. I have 11. It's so not that wide as this one, just a bit smaller. All right, but it also depends on the findings that you're gonna have, because like in this project you can see here, can we see? Yeah, we can see here. We can see that they're using a type of clasp that obviously they sell, they manufacture for, and they sell those findings. It's part of the Miyuki business, obviously. And it's a specific size. You won't find these clasps at any size, okay? So, but I don't want to design this clasp for this model. I want something like a triangle shaped clasp that we'll see later, obviously. Okay, so that's to explain the amount here, 11 beads, and that's the first array. All right. Now we need another array in the other direction. That's going to be from left to right. That's why I said we're going to go from bottom to the top with one array. That's the Y factor. And on the X factor, we're going to go from left to right. But also, we are going to have, let me see the pattern again. So here the pattern, okay, we have here, okay, let's have a look at, okay, this schematic is very simple, but obviously we need, okay, in between, okay, this one is not accurate enough as a schematic. But what I'm saying is that we are going to have, so let's go at 90 degrees. Are we going to have wires in between? Let me see my bracelet then, because I don't remember. Let me see this. Okay, here we have the wires on the outside and just from one to one, but I'm going to do another type of stitching. Okay, but we're not going to have, but we are going to put a small space, because let's say that in real life the beads can't really be that close. That would not be realistic. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So this factor also is going to be like 1 or 2, maybe 1 or 3. Let's go to 1 or 3, something like this. Okay. So now for the dimension on the amount of rows, columns, the amount of columns, you need to know the size of your wrists. So you take a flexible, measuring tape or something like that, or a wire, and then you measure the wire. Let's say I have this is too rigid. I can't really take the measurement of my wrist, but I already know that my wrist, and in general, let's say woman in general is like 16-15 centimeters long, and man it's generally like 23-25, something like that. My wrist is quite not thick, the opposite of thick. I don't even remember some words from time to time. Okay, so we're going to make the bracelet at 21 centimeters, counting the endings, the finding, the clasp, and all of that. So I'm going to go about 20 centimeters. So let's find the count. Let's go at 115, something like that. Okay, so you can see now, using 115 columns for the second array on the X direction, you can see that we have using 115 columns, we only get not even a 19 centimeters, just a bit less. So in fact, I want a bit more. Let's go at 120. Okay, that's pretty nice for all the beads. That's pretty nice for all the beads. Okay, so this is for all the beads, all the beads for this bracelet. And if we go to calculator, okay, here we are. So we have 11 beads per column multiplied by 120. No, I said rows, columns, well, whatever. It's 11 per 120. So this version of this bracelet at 20 centimeters ends up using 1,320 beads. It's quite a lot. And but that's what we need for the size of a real bracelet. You can check the size of the beads, you can check the size of the wrist, of your wrist, and the size of the findings and all of that, and you'll find out that very quickly you are going to end up with a lot of beads. But that's okay. Check the numbers, and if you check the numbers, you won't be that much surprised about the amount of beads you are going to end up using. All right. Let's call these Miyuki beads. 11 per 120. Okay, so this is the bracelet. Actually, let's call it the bracelet, etc., etc. So what I might want to do now, we're going to create a collection, and we're going to create it, call it the Miyuki bracelet. Miyuki bracelets. Let's put proper names. It's always nicer. So the Miyuki bracelet is going to be, you can move it to the other collection, and that's it for the for all the beads. But now we are going to do the stitching work. Okay, and let's create a new collection. Let's call it wires. So I already have these Bezier curves, but I'm going to move them to wires, and I'm going to delete this one. This one was just a reference for spacing. This one won't exist. And we are going to make the stitching of all the beads with the wires. So this is wire 0.001. Okay, we are going to put a higher resolution here. Let's go at 100. Like I said, I'm going to use a quite high resolution for this 3D model because it's nicer for the quality, you know. Okay, and also let's go with materials already. Let's start assigning materials. We're not going to make the materials now because, like I said, today it's the modeling of the bracelet. Okay, so let's go for the beads. We're going to call that bead glass because they're made of glass. And the wire is going to have wire nylon. So let's just assign materials, and I'm going to change this for view the viewing pleasure of in the viewport in the 3D view. Let's assign and like I said, I want some bluish nylon because it's good looking for this project. All right, here we go. So now we need to make all the wiring, all the stitches, and in fact here I'm going to activate the snap to the grid, absolute grid snap, and this I might bring here. Obviously it's not going to be exactly the position I want, and the handles, because we're going to go from left to right with just 2 with just two vertices. And this one, let's bring it, okay, so let's bring this one into a proper position here. Let's keep the handle straight, the distance. Or if we don't want to use the grid, because sometimes it's not so good, we can use simply the coordinates. This is going to be the coordinate on the y-axis. Okay, so for this point, we're going to copy the y coordinates. Let's go back all to the left. And remember that this bracelet is 20 centimeters long, which is a real life bracelet. Okay, and on this vertex, let's copy the y position. And sorry, let's go. Okay. We need to use a global positioning reference. So let's just use this one, okay? Because then we'll have to do the same for the handles. Sometimes we do use, okay, copy paste. So that one is good. But for this handle, let's also paste on the Y to make a very straight line, okay? And on the x-axis, let's not worry that much. Let's just bring it. Let's just bring it there. Then we are going to make the knots. We are going to make the knots in 3D. It's quite fun. Okay, so this is just the wire that goes from left to right between all the beads. Okay, there's one on the outside between all the beads and one at the top. So, okay, so this one, this wire, and let's check that. Don't forget to check, let's say front view. Okay, here we need to be at 0. Why not? Let me check something about this original bead. Are we centered here? Yes, we're centered here. Okay, so we're centered on this side, but why aren't we centered on that side? Because there's a mistake. On the Z, okay, now go to edit mode. On the global Z axis, let's go at 0. Thank you, sir. And let's check that the other one, where are you, Scooby-Doo? Are you here? Okay, sorry, here. Okay, let's check that this one is at 0 too, and it was not. Okay. You need to center the wires because that's the way they're made. They go through the center. Okay, W. Now we're going to use an array on that. So it's a Bezier curve. Later on, we are going to try to keep the Bezier curve and not a mesh for the wiring of all the bracelet. So let's put an array here. And it's not on the X factor, it's on the Y factor. Obviously, we need to find, here you can slide the number, and we need to find the most accurate position in between. Let's say, so 9.62, 67. So anyway, this number is not necessarily accurate at first at all. Okay, you can, okay, let's just put a number that seems to be correct, but now we need to add the rows, and we need 12 rows because we need one on the outside, on every side, and in between all the beads. So something like this, and we need to check that the ending wire is at the correct distance. This one ends up just slightly further, too far away, and we need a bit less here. So it's going to be 4, 3, 2. Okay, it's 2.5. Perfect. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to make this realistic with a lot of accurate precision. But like thinking in the real life Miyuki bead bracelet, right? It's based on that. And that's why I started this entire tutorial talking about the Miyuki Corporation, the glass beads they make, the sizes, the measurements, the findings, And then we went on a small research to find the thickness of the Miyuki thread, which is the nylon wire. Okay, and this is the one I'm using now. Okay, there very probably more variety of threads for these bracelets, for these crafts, but it's okay with this one. All right, so these are the wires that go in one specific direction from left to right. We also need to obviously now stitch all the beads together, and there are many different patterns to do that, and we're going to do that in 3D. So we're going to make something realistic, like I already said, and let's go again with a new add curve, Bezier curve. So here we're also going to go at the same resolution, the new curve, let's go at the same 100 resolution. Like I said, quite a high resolution. The round thickness is the radius at 0.75, sorry. Okay, here we are. The material is also going to be the wire nylon here. And now we are going to have a look at, let me see something. Yep. Okay, at the stitching of the wires that go from, well, I said actually that we're going to go from bottom to top. Okay. So we are going to create something that we can also repeat using the array, because there are a lot of wiring between all these beads. We have more than 1,000 beads here, so I won't do all the stitching manually. Obviously, that would not be a clever technique. So we are going to come around here somewhere. We're going to do this in a couple of steps. So the wire needs to go, if this one goes over this one, okay, then on the other side it needs to go under from top to bottom. Okay, so now here I don't know exact, well, I've seen videos, and most of the time just go from that side to the other side. Okay, so we are going to bring that, and you know what, sorry, let's go out of edit mode for a second. We need to go to geometry here, and don't forget to fill the caps. Also, the amount here of resolution, let's go at 8. Let's go at 12. 12 is better. So the same here. Fill caps, resolution 12. All right, this is a lot nicer. Now this wire needs to go a bit like here, and this one needs to go to the other side. So let's use the left mouse button click with the control key here, and we're totally far away. Let's go to the back view. This vertex must come here, and let's just okay, top view, and it must go to the other side. And like I said, because on one side I have it over the other wire, this one must come under the other wire. All right, so we're going to go, let's go here somewhere, and the middle here. And now we're just going to make this come okay to, well, let's first just design the wiring in a some realistic way. So like I said, under one side, under the other one. Okay, this one. We might very well need a lot more of vertices to make this bracelet. All right. Okay, here we go. Now this should not go that far away. Make it somehow pretty straight. Doesn't have to be totally straight. It's not necessary at all. Okay, and just like this. But we are stitching the beads, so the wire should grasp the next wire accordingly to a proper. Okay, so this should come, I put it like this, and you're gonna see that when it's finished, it's going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty. We could go like this also. We'll see that later. These are details, but let's first stitch it. Let's stitch. Okay, so here by example, we can take these two beads with Shift W, subdivide, because I might want to change this shape to something pretty. Like I said, we're going to make the stitching look interesting with a nice level of realism. So we need to just have fun with this. And like always, I'm taking my time during the tutorials to show all the steps. Obviously, advanced user might go a lot faster, but it's not, I mean, like, I'm taking my time because we need to check that everything is in its correct place. So it's not that I'm using a lot of Blender tools or functions and all that, because it's not about that. In this specific jewelry modeling in 3D is a very specific profession, right? And that's why they pay me that much. In fact, I make a lot of money modeling in 3D because I have a very specific professional segment. It's a niche inside a niche market, and there are not that many people properly modeling 3D jewels. There are many people who, because like I always say, you need first to be a jewelry maker, like a real jeweler working in metal. You know, you need to know the entire jewelry goldsmithing techniques. Then you should become a 3D jewelry designer, but only if you are a real life jeweler. It's the best you can do. And you should really forget about really being a jewelry designer if you know nothing about jewelry making in real life. There are millions of jewelry designers who pretend to design jewelry, but they're just creating problems because they know nothing about jewelry manufacturing. First, you're a jeweler, a jewelry manufacturer, then you become a jewelry designer, then you become talking about technical drawing by hand using squares and all of that, and the compass and all of that. You need to learn technical drawing of jewelry by hand. It's necessary. Don't believe anybody who says that it's not necessary. Everybody that says it's not necessary is not a professional. You can bet on that. And then you learn 3D, okay? That's the proper... But whatever, let's make the Miyuki bracelet and let's keep on with it. Okay, so this is a bit too high. Whoop. This is a bit too high here, this one. Whoop. And we're going to bring this friend a bit further away. And okay, this is pretty nice here. I just want this curve. So the back view, control 1. Yeah, I want this curve to be pretty nice looking, which is what I'm working on right now. So like I said, these are very specific details. Okay, something like this should be pretty okay on that side, but that we'll see later. Making the array. Okay, on this side I need to do something similar, honestly. This side is not ready. Okay, so here and there with Shift W, subdivide, and we are going to go at front view, and we need a similar shape. Okay, so this is too high. Let's see the handle somewhere here. We could make it go a bit like this, just so that the wire is not too boring. too repetitive. Just that. Okay, so this needs to go okay, like this. Let's make this one like this, something like that. Okay, and this one, obviously on that side I will have to do a specific knot to close the side. And so obviously today we're making a totally different type of, I'm not making a ring, finally. We're not designing rings, finally, because I'm almost always designing rings. You need to understand that rings are the start of the show. The rings generally in jewelry design is like the dream of every jewelry designer is to make an amazing ring, you know, that is going to be featured in Hollywood, on the red carpet, etc., etc. My cat is pushing the phone. There you go. Okay, so anyway, so today we're making a Miyuki bead bracelet. So it's a totally different craft, in fact, which, like I explained at the beginning, is not necessarily my craft. But at my school we used to teach that. I had very good craft teacher. I was the one teaching jewelry and 3D design and all that. And I kept doing that at a private level. All right. And okay, something like this. Now we are going to make an array of this. So we're going to have more than 100 columns of this wire. Let's go to array, and obviously the distance. Let's go. I don't know, at 0.8 maybe. I know it's way less, 0.5. Okay, so here we'll have to. Okay, that's what I'm going to see. We need to adapt. Well, I'm already going to adapt. So let's go to edit mode because we need this to go further. In fact. Here somehow you need to, okay, and this could go a bit more like this. All right, just check that the wire is not entering into the other wire too much. It might just a bit. I mean, you know, it's not that don't become too crazy about precision. In specific areas you do need a lot of precision. In some more artistic creations you can be a bit more generous with your numbers and precision, you know. Okay, so something like this. Okay, but also what I want is that this wire, I'm going to make it a lot wider. Okay, so something like that. We are going to say that this wire, I'm just going to have a look at this. Is this wire going to be, yeah, we're going to make it go inside the other one, like this. Okay, so now, and that's what I was talking about, that the stitching is going to end up pretty nice because it's going to look a bit like a Celtic pattern. This is just a collateral benefit of what I'm designing now for the wire. That's why I'm taking my time to do the wiring of the bracelet in a pretty accurate way. But also here we could, let's add just another point here. I wanted to fade into the other wire, which is, that part is not realistic. Let's be, you gotta be, let's be honest, and let's be also objective about our work. But I want this one to, okay, so I need this to be lower. And I want it to fade into the other one, into the next wire. Something like that, but I don't want this curve to be this high. So I need this to be something like this, and this a bit. Okay, something like this. I don't know yet if I want that much separation there on the inside. Okay, so then I could move this a bit. Oh, okay, this is a bit nicer. And it hides pretty well. But still, I want this a bit lower. And a bit lower. Front view. Can I change this to something a bit... Okay, this is pretty good. Something like this. And okay, so it fades, but on the outside it looks like a nice wavy pattern. And this is exactly like, well, the design I want for the wire for the stitching. Let's have a look on the inside. Okay, here we can see still on the far end there that this friend there, this vertex is too high. Like I said, I want it to fade into the wire like this. Okay, now, looks good. Okay, let's have a look at this side, and we need to do something similar with this and move this. So it's not that easy, because when you move one side, because of the array factor, it moves on the other side, and it might undo what you just did, which is part of the fun, obviously. And you'll have to check the pattern every now and then. Okay, something like that. Let's have a view here, because I want a nice curvy looking wire here and there. And like I said, I don't want I want a realistic distance for the wire. The wire must be tight, because this is the stitching of all the bracelet between all the beads. So you can have distances between the wires, okay? So it takes a little time to do all this. Okay, let's say I have a proper stitching, but I need now like 120 some. So let's go at 120. And okay, we're on the other side, but obviously let's have a front view. And now the distance, well, obviously it's wrong. We need less distance, because we need one wire for every row. No, sorry, for every column. These are the columns. So for every column we need a wire. Okay, the camera is going to move a bit more to me. Are we here? It's too far. Okay, here. Gotta be centered to the camera. Hello, blessed and beloved jewelry community. How are you doing today? Thanks, Friday. So I've been working for what? 45 minutes? No, it's already 1 hour. Okay, it's not too bad. Okay, it's not too bad. Like I said, the goal is like 2 hours maximum. I think I need to be a bit less today, but anyway, this is working pretty well. Okay, so now the distance for the factor point, I don't know, 45. Okay, point 44. So there's no magic trick on finding the number, and also no magic add-on that's going to do that for you. This is proper 3D modeling. You need to use your brain, your creativity, and Blender. Using the most basic and simple tools, you can make amazing jewels. I said that many times, but well, anyway. Okay, so let's go have a look at what's happening on the inside. Okay, but the problem is that that's not enough. We need more distance, in fact, because every wire needs to be centered to the next bead, to the next column of beads. Okay, so that's obviously a design problem, and we need, well, we should have this at 0.5. So this means that probably the distance here might be shorter. Is this one? It's just because I don't know yet if I'm going to make it shorter on the left or on the right to center the wires. I need to... okay, that's too far. I know, but that's not too bad. Okay, so maybe 49. And okay, let's go at 48. Okay, 48. No, it's still a bit too much. 4.75. Because it must be just okay. Then obviously we'll have to adjust some of the vertices on the inside. Let's have a look. You need to go check all up to the end here. Okay, this is too much. 7, and because it multiplies that much, okay, just a slight change in the number makes a huge difference at the end. You need to understand that pretty quickly. 0.8 is too... okay, this one ends here. Let's go at 21. Okay, that would be... obviously, the last one, we'll have to adjust it. We'll need to make custom wires for the beginning on the left side and for the ending on the right side. We'll have to make a custom knots also, because we are going to need some knots, especially to stitch the wire to the endings. We are going to design a finding, a metallic finding for the bracelet, and we are going to need knots. We need to design knots. That's the concept. Okay, the distance seems to be pretty good. Let's go have a look on the other side, on the top side, and let's see if the wire is okay. So here we need to adjust a bit, but I think that this distance is pretty good. Okay, so let's start adjusting on this side. Okay, here I need to use the magnifier because the object is so big, you can't really get a nice grasp. Okay, here. Let's go to edit mode, and we need to make the addition of the vertices again. Okay, so this one is that one, and this one is too much. Okay, this is pretty good. But top view, we have this. We can see just a bit more, and let's try to make it go a bit straighter. Straight. Here with the transparency of the orange line. No, I don't want to move it like that. Not that much. I just want to move this one and fade inside the other wire. Okay, so we should see only one line, something like this. So on the interior, on this side, we're pretty good. Now let's go to the other side. Top view also for the other side. In fact, here we can see that this one is way much to the right. So let's come back and move it to the left, because okay, so that's the one of the rare and only thing in this bracelet project that I won't be doing something realistic, because I'm doing that the wire fades inside the next wire, which it's not real. In fact, that wire keeps going through all the beads, making this wavy pattern, and it's just one wire. Okay, but I'm doing that one wire fades into the other one just to make it look good, and it looks good on the outside. All right, so yes, it's okay. Now we have obviously a problem again. We need to change the array here, maybe 71, 70. Let's have a look at this. Let's see if we can find 85 maybe. So every time you move a vertex, the X factor for the array of the entire bracelet is going to change. it's a bit tricky, but it's part of the fun. In fact, you could do this using geometry nodes. You could, but not very well for the, well, you would need to adjust the wire, the Bezier curve, just the same by hand and numbers anyway. That's why we're not using geometry nodes today. It's not really relevant. It would not be more efficient, it would not be more interesting, and it would be not even more fun or whatever. It would be just facing the same problem with another tool. Let's go 0.5. And don't forget to go to the end and check that it matches. Do you match? No, it does match. It does not match. Okay, so we need to move. We need to move. Let's move to GX. Let's move a bit to the right. And here we can see. Okay, here we can see the distance. We need more. We need more distance. My reference, as a good reference to solve the problem, you can check the distance of the wire to the edge of the bead on the inside, this part especially. And we can see that we are further away here. That means that the X factor is too low. So it's going to be, I don't know, 0.05, 0.51. Okay, but now we need to check that it keeps that distance up to the end, until all the end, and no, it's not. So it means that it's still a bit too small. No, 52, no, 502, sorry. No, 501 then. What happened? Why did it change that much? 5.1 was pretty good. Okay, 5.1 is pretty good. Yeah, but it's not enough. It needs to go at 12 maybe. Okay, so 05. No, 1, 11, 115, just a bit less. 1, 2. Okay. Are we keeping, okay, the distance, it might get just a bit shorter. The goal is that from the beginning to the end, you have the wire, the nylon wire going on the inside of the beads, obviously. All right, and this is about it. This is it. This is it. This is good. This is good. So let's travel the entire bracelet, something like this. Okay, all the stitchings, all the stitchings, all the stitchings. Okay, now on this side. Okay, top view. Let's see about the distance. Okay, here at the top, I could try still. Let's see. If it doesn't change the distance, it changes the distance. Yeah, that's the sad part. Like I said, every time, but we could try to add. Okay, let's add one vertex like that. And so now the distance is smaller. It's just to show the problem. That's why I'm doing it again and again. I explained the problem already. Let's go 9.9. Okay, this is pretty good. Let's go 88 maybe. And let's see that up to the end we get the proper distance. So now this one is too far. Way too far. No. 875 then. Okay. Top view. And top view. Okay, okay, okay. But just I want to correct. I made this diagonal key zoom in with the this. Okay. Okay, now if I just move it on the y-axis, it's not going to change the distance, all right? Only if I move it on the x-axis like this. Okay, Now it's totally dissolving into the other wire. It's what I said I would be doing, like that, for all the stitching of the bracelet. All right. But I need to check now again that the bracelets, all the wires are still in place all to the end, and they're not. So we need 93 maybe. No, I said 493. Sorry. Okay, we're almost it. Okay, here we are it on this side. Top view to see all the wires. Okay, it's pretty nice. So this is if you want to do a pretty wavy pattern for the wire in between the beads. Otherwise, if you don't want to have all that, number and distance problem for the factor of all the array, simply put a cylinder in the middle and repeat with the array like I did in the first version. Actually, this version, you just make a loop and you multiply the loop all over the place, and you're going to get something realistic, because many bracelets are made like this. But because I'm making the tutorial and making something a bit more complex, I showed how to make, and the problem that it is to make the proper distance for all the wavy pattern, and we get this. Okay, but in fact it's not that hard. I just made it look a bit harder just to warn people that if you're not careful, you're going to make a mess with your array. That's why I took a longer time to make the wavy pattern on the outside and all of that, and I moved it, I changed it maybe too much too many times, but to show what problems you're going to get making this wavy pattern using a Bezier curve and an array. But actually it's one of the best way to do this. So all right, it was just to show that it's not that simple, and don't pretend that it is that simple, because it's not. You would like, many people want things to be easier or simpler or faster and all of that. I know, me too sometimes, but we need to be careful and dedicate a special attention to very specific details. This is jewelry design. All right, so now we need to model. Okay, so the endings, obviously here on the right side, you can see that this wire is not necessary up till there, but we need it here. And then we are going to need knots, and we need to design a finding. So what I want to see, let's go back to the Miyuki official website. So let's go to here. So what I need are the findings. So I need the catalog somewhere. Beads and crafts. There are some findings. I need findings. Okay, so maybe we're going to search. Let's search now for Miyuki metal findings. Something like this. Okay, so these are the type of images that I want. I've seen one that is a bit more triangular. Let's search for bracelet findings. Metal. So these are very common clasps and endings for the bracelets, but I don't want that model. I want, there's the lobster one, we might choose one, but we're not going to model it today. It's a bit longer. Okay, there are findings like these ones, and you can see the holes where the wire is going to be stitched. But I don't want that one. There's a pressure one, but I just can't. Let's search better here. Okay, we need the findings. So current finished beads, size and shape, manufacturing process, Delica beads. I need the findings. Where are the findings? Loom, Delica bead loom. Is it loom? Okay, loom material set. Parts. Okay. Let's go to the metal parts and frames. Entendido. All right. So, and okay, this is more like it, because I want something like with this shape. I like with this shape, something like this, with maybe some decoration. That's the concept, you know, some floral decoration on the endings. But that's the basic concept that that we need now. And then, in fact, we're just going to use a T-shaped clasp, which is the model I did on the first bracelet I published. Here we can see that's the ending loop, the big one, which is rather big and rather flatter. Not so. It's like more of a rectangular section. And here we have the bar, the T bar, which goes on the inside of that ending loop, and it closes the bracelet. It's because we're not going to design a lobster clasp. No, we're not. I'm thinking about it, but I don't really have the time. Sorry. So let's use a very common T clasp ending. But what we are going to design is that we are going to make the endings with this kind of triangular shape, something between these two, and with some decoration. All right, so let's go back to Blender, top view. So here the only bad thing is that let's take all the beads, and what I want, I need the center all of this, but maybe not. Okay, anyway, let's start a new collection. Let's call it clasps. Okay, the clasps. Here we are with the clasp, and let's start modeling that. And I'm going to end. Let's model this like for a couple of minutes. But like I said, there's going to be another second part, maybe a third part even. Let's add a mesh plane here. Let's make it SY. So this is going to be the clasp, and it needs to be a bit wider. Okay, let's go somewhere like here. Now to center this properly, the bad thing is that I literally need to take, okay, let's do it. I need to copy the entire bracelet. Let's hide the original bracelet here. Okay, let's make the entire beads into a mesh. Convert to mesh. Here we are. And now we can do the object set origin to the center of mass of the volume. And we have the center of the bracelet. That's the proper center of the entire bracelet. Okay. So we have this y coordinates, the y coordinate. Okay, this is the y coordinate of the bracelet, and I need that exact same y coordinate for the clasp. And now it's centered. So let's call this bracelet center of bracelet, because I made all this just to get the proper center of the bracelet and the entire design. Okay, now the clasp is centered. Okay, the clasp also, let's add a new material and make let's call it golden metal or golded, because it's like, or no, let's call it gold plated, or let's even call it, because generally it's gold plated. If it's good quality, it's gold plated brass, because it's lead free, it's not too heavy, and it's brass is a very nice alliation, already golded color metal, and it's not a health risk like lead, because lead metal is very dangerous around the world. It's a huge problem in car paints, in well, paint, no, not car paints, well, also in all types of paintings there are lead generally, but it's generally illegal now because we know that the lead can kill somebody pretty quickly. So, and the bad manufacturing people, they use lead inside the jewelry, and you should never do that, because you literally kill people. You kill children, because children, they bite on the jewels and they eat the lead or part of the lead, and it gets to their brain, and it makes you literally brain dead in a couple of hours. Okay, so it's that mortal. Yes, it is. Lead is a very bad metal. So that's why brass is a very friendly metal. But it's not as cheap, but it's really a nice quality generally. Hello, everybody. Hello. All right. Okay, so welcome to this live stream, which is also a tutorial that I'm going to publish in the normal tutorial section. Okay, so we have this, and what about, we're going to make it a bit here, and let's add, because I already added the material, this is going to be a gold-plated, oh, what did I put as a name? It should, okay, gold-plated brass, that's perfect, that's the exact perfect name of all of this. Okay, so I just want for the viewport some golden color, just to see the difference. All right, so now to view, and we need to move it maybe here. Now let's make let's start modeling this. Make an extrusion. See, somewhere there. Okay, let's make a 1 millimeter. Let's go at 1.5, which is pretty realistic. Now, let's center the geometry. Okay, let's center this, and on the z-axis, let's go at 0. Okay, so this is centered now. Obviously, then we'll have to make the cuts to make the proper knots to end the bracelet. Okay, so that's very important. And she says hello. Hello, kitty. That's why he's late. And but let's keep on modeling. All right. Let's keep on. Okay, let's move forward with this. Okay, so we need to take. Now we're going to take this face. We're going to extrude it to the left on the x-axis. Now make it SY to make it something like here. Yeah, something like this is not bad. So it's vaguely inspired by these findings here, metallic findings, looms. They call it looms? Something like that. Okay, it's inspired by that, just quickly. Okay, so now we are going to take this face and this face, yeah, something like that. Let's make an I key to make an inset. Are we going to make an inset? Nope, it's not working. So let's make an extrusion, E, click, and let's make it smaller by individual origins. And not on the z-axis. Keep it at 1 on the z-axis. Now you're going to move that a bit back. We're going to make it like here, somewhere like here. So we only have one side. No, that's not what I wanted. I wanted, like I said, I want two sides, this one and this one. Let's make an extrusion. Now let's make it smaller. On the individual origins, we have both sides, but on the Z side at 1, so it does not compress like that. And move it somewhere here. Okay, so we're going to remove now. Because we're going to make a hole there. No, but you know what? Sorry. Because I'm designing as I go. So let's make it a bit bigger here. And, oh, sorry. Before you do that, let's make it bigger like this and also keep it at 1 on the Z-axis. That's very important. So it does not deform on the thickness side. All over this. Okay, now let's delete only the faces. So we have this, but we're going to take the vertices here, and these, and generally the bridge edge loops should work really well. And this is perfect. Okay, we have this on that side. Let's make a Control A on the scale. Okay, that's pretty good. And let's have a look at the bevel modifier for this friend. Okay, but not so okay, because that distance. Offset, let's make a percentage maybe. And no, let's maybe absolute then. Okay, on the inside it's not so good. That's because of that distance. Let's go see if I can. No, I can't really. Okay, let's have a look at subdivision surface. Okay. Let's go 2, 3. Okay, this is, oh wow. That was not planned like this, but this is amazing. That's why I love taking my time and make all the steps in that way. Let's go to smooth shading, because we're going to end up with a better looking clasp. What I need to do now is that the face on the right, which is the ending face, this one needs to be straighter. So what I'm going to do, and because the subdivision is making everything smoother, which is really nice, but we need that side to be straighter, because we need to stitch the ending knots for all the bracelets on each side. Okay, so let's extrude this on the y-axis, something like this, and that's pretty good. Now we can see if we can make the hole a bit, okay, let's take the edges, let's take these, I'm sorry, that top edge and that lower edge. I can't take this one, okay, this one and the top one. Now, because we want that to be shorter if possible, here, now I need this and that to move also there, because I want to make the hole a bit bigger. Here I would need another division, but the problem is that, I know that's not a problem. Let's have a look at this face and that face and ask for a subdivision. Okay, but no, it's not so cool. So that part might, or maybe let's have a look if I can subdivide this one. Yes, but no. That's not so nice. Okay, but I like this shape pretty well. Let's have a look at SY. Okay, it's all right like this. It's all right like this, and we're going to make a 3-level of subdivision. Let's go back to the bracelet top view. Now, edit mode from there. I need to move it here, and I do need it bigger on the y-axis, because we need to make the stitches like I already explained. So we might even make 4 or 5. 4 is pretty good. 4 levels of subdivisions looks pretty good. But now we need, now we need to reduce the space here. We might make cuts. We are going to make cuts. Let me show you what we're going to do here. Okay, so here we're going to create a cylinder here, and I need to center that to the, okay, so here what I'm going to do is hide the array for a second, and I need to copy exactly the same Y position. Okay, now this is centered to the Y. Now let's go to the front view. G, Z, right. I'm going to make cuts in order to be able to stitch the wire. But this is not centering to that. I know it is. Okay, sorry. The Y from this wire. It is already. It is already. But it's not. Okay. Let me. No, but I can't because of the array. Let's see if it changes the array. Just talking about the center, the geometric center there. I need to center it to the geometry if possible. Did it do it? Yeah. Okay, now it's centered on the Y position, and that's great. Let's hide the array for a second. Let's copy this position to the cylinder, and this is for that. Okay, so what I'm saying is that we need to make these. Well, let's do it because the concept is that we need to be able to make. Oh. Is okay, internet is back. I guess it was just a misconnection for a second. Not too bad. Do we have internet? Yes, we have internet. All right. Okay, anyway, so let's make a mirror from that object on the Y. No, sorry, on the Z. Okay, perfect. We need this. And let's move this already somewhere here. So that side, I will see. I want to remove more metal. You'll understand pretty soon enough what I need to be done here. Okay, now we're going to make it a bit oval on this side. So we're literally, we're literally designing a brass finding for a Miyuki bracelet. That's what we're doing. And okay, and we are going to do a shape like this. All right, we have this. Now we're going to make an array, exactly the same array, because this is to make the knots of the wire, okay, on the finding. I'm talking about, let's remember that it's this type of finding, and in every hole, the wire is going to come to be stitched and finished with a simple knot in reality, in real life, right? You know? Okay, so we have this. The direction is not X, is Y, and it's going to be the same, it must be the same distance as the wires. But the sizes are not the same, so we need to find a new count for the new Y factor, something, okay. And let's put, I don't know how many, I know we have, no, yet we do have 12, so factor 192, 185. We need obviously to end up centered to the last wire. All right, 35, 30. 30. Okay, this is pretty good. And okay, so now what's going to happen? We're going to take this friend and we're going to make a boolean. This is going to, well, let's use the fast solver. Let's take these guys, let's remove this, and let's have a look. Okay, so that's step one of my strategy of designing the finding, the brass finding. There's just something ugly on the shading, but this should be solved with an auto smooth. Okay, it is solved with an auto smooth. So now what do we need? We need the hole. We need to drill to have those famous holes that we need to stitch the nylon wires. That's what we need, all right? And let's do that. Because yeah, well, let's do that 10 minutes because I'm a bit well, I'm happy, but I'm a bit tired. But I'm happy because this tutorial is, this live stream, this tutorial is working wonders. Honestly, it's a lot of fun to do this. Okay, so what do we need now? Now we need just a simple, let's add, okay, so let's show this cylinder. Let's make a Shift S, cursor to selected, and here we are going to add a cylinder, yep. But here we're going to drill it at 0.4. But this one is going to be like huge like this because we're going to drill, and I want the holes to be somewhere there. All right. And this friend, okay, so maybe not that high, don't be that exaggerated, just high enough so it drills the entire brass finding there. All right, so we can hide this again. Well, not yet. All right, so the array, I think we can, here we might, okay, let's put an array on the cylinder. Let's go array. Here, obviously 0 here and 1 here. Okay, we are going to try at first the same distance for the Y factor. It might be, but generally if the size of the object, say, okay, because it depends on the size of the object, you can't use the same factor. That's one of the small issues about using arrays and different objects for all of this, all right? Okay, so we need more here. Okay, and let's go at 12 counts, 12 or 11, I never remember. No, it's 12, it's correct, because we have one more wire than a rows of stones, of beads. So it's 12. Let's go at 3.6 T1. This looks okay, maybe 08. Okay, the most centered than you can. So okay, we're going to hide this, we're going to take this friend, we're going to add another boolean, and we're going to add a fast difference again with these guys and hide this, and now it's drilled. Okay, so all right, this is pretty nice. It's pretty nice. And we are going to stitch, then I will have to make knots, and we are going to really make 3D knots, like basic knots, but real knots using this blue wire, nylon wire, all right? And that's when it gets fun, but that will be in the next part. But still, what I want to do, like I said, because I'm using inspiration of the Miyuki catalog of looms and findings, I want some little decorations just before I go and to end up on a more creative note. So we are going to make some, floral designs on the findings. It's always a lot of fun, and in Blender is a lot of fun because we are going to, what are we going to do? We are going to, okay, so these are the clasps. So this is the clasp itself. Let's see, clasp. Okay, that's the clasp. Brass clasp. All right, this is the brass clasp. Okay. All right, so let's add a Bezier curve, and we are going to use a very efficient technique. There are millions of videos about that, but we really love Blender for this same reason. Okay, let's go here, and I think I'm going to, there are many ways to do that, but I'm going to turn on the, well, median points, yes. The magnet, the snap to snap faces, closest yes or median yes, and on the move, and it should be center, I guess, no, closest. Okay, we'll see. Now let's move the vertex, and the vertex, okay, it's working already with this because the vertex is going to get snap at the surface of the clasp, which is exactly what I want, because using well, let's start using just curves. We're going to use curves, and let's do that. So let's start designing. I'm going to add I'm going to add many curves. Well, all the necessary curve for for, oh, okay, this is pretty good already. Yo. Okay, let's come back here. Okay, nice. Nice. So it's really a lot of fun because I'm going to make, in fact, the more complex part of the entire stream and tutorial today. I'm going to make it a lot faster. Okay, so let's start with this. This is just one. So because we are using something you need to know, because I'm using Bezier curves, obviously the handles are not getting snapped to the surface automatically. Okay, so maybe here, let's do a subdivide, and you just need to subdivide. Okay, let's move from here to subdivide when necessary because of the handles, but otherwise my entire Bezier curve is getting totally snapped to the surface of the clasp to make the decorations I want. And I'm going to show that. Because I'm going to, let's add quickly a curve Bezier circle here. Well, yeah, a curved circle. And here we can do, let's use individual origins and let's make it smaller. I want that square rounded shape that I love so much. This is my signature shape, honestly said. You should know that. I've been using that for decades now and it works wonders. And that's why I also got a bit like famous somehow. All right, so this is the profile I'm going to use on the curve, but I want it like small, like 0.6 to be 0.65 is perfect. Control A, scale. Now the Bezier curve here is going to get a beveling object, and this is my profile here. So obviously it's too thick, honestly said. But also that's what I want to see. And let's have a look at different elements of the problem. The resolution should be higher. Let's go at 85. Okay, this is one thing. And we are going to need a taper object, a taper curve, because the endings of these floral decoration, they need to be nice and end up smaller and, you know, a nice desvanecido. Okay, they need to become smaller and smaller. Okay, so for that we need a add curve, Bezier curve. This is going to be the taper object. So taper object, and this is the curve, and the curve needs to be up and down, so something like this. So not too small at the end, but smaller. All right, Blender puts it at 0, so if you take it higher like this, it's going to become thicker. Okay, and it needs to become yeah, maybe something like this. I might need another vertex on my curve. I think we are going to use more vertices here. Okay, something like that, but even maybe okay, so you need to develop. It's always nice to have the taper object close to the curve that you're manipulating. It's going to be a lot easier to create the taper object, the taper curve, which is a compression curve. It's called in other softwares. Okay. Okay, so this side needs to be smaller, a bit smaller. Make it, okay, something like that. It's starting to be pretty good. Okay. And but now let's edit this. I'm going to do a bit more. Yeah, let's move this a bit more. Okay, that's pretty nice. That's just the ending on that side, and maybe bigger so it has okay, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So this is one way of making this. There's another way. I think I'm going to use planes, honestly. Okay, I'm going to show the other way to do that. Also with the snap, just remove the snap a second. Let's add a mesh plane. Let's make it smaller. So I'm going to hide this friend for a second. It's working, but I don't like the way the handles are behaving now. All right, let's go here, and let's start designing a similar shape, something like that. Oops, sorry. Just want this. Okay, extrude. So I'm extruding each time, something like that. So we have some questions there in the chat, which is pretty nice. It's in Spanish. There's no problem with that. But the problem is I don't have time to answer the questions because it's already late and I'm tired. So sorry, Javi, Alonso, sorry, I won't be answering questions today. It's way too late to answer questions. Entonces, ay, pero qué padre, Eric está contestando por mí. Y bueno, es que también como son preguntas que recibo todo el tiempo, pues, cuando son preguntas demasiado. Bien, en fin. So, I'm saying that we are going to design something similar, but we are going to use the shrink wrap option and the solidify option to compare which one is working better on this clasp. I think this one might be working better, but we are going to compare what we're getting. Okay, so it's very similar to the other one. But this time we're going to use a mesh instead of a curve, and we're going to project using shrink wrap. I love the shrink wrap modifier. The target is the clasp here. Okay, it needs to be a project on the z-axis, negative and positive, and we get the projected result here. Now we are going to use a solidify. Okay, so if you check the scale, this is going to be very bad. Let's go a Control A scale. And now let's make, what's this? I ask, okay, solidify modifier. Yeah, simple. Yeah, thickness 0.6. And the offset, let's go at 0. Okay, so that's way too much. Let's go at 0.3. Well, let's go at 0.4. And it's working better in this occasion. It's really working a lot better. Now, let's put the gold material just gold plated here. Well, maybe not. Let's put it later. First, I'm going to keep it gray to have a better look. And let's put a subdivision surface. And that's, yeah, that's looking great. Let's go at 3. Generally, I'd go at 3, which is smoother. And let's go at object shade smooth. Okay, so now I can go back to the edit mode, and don't forget that this is projected from this plane to the clasp, to the design. And well, now I can easily edit the design, just moving the points, and it's going to be a lot smoother, and I'm going to have a lot more control. Well, sometimes the tapper object with curves works better, and sometimes the shrink wrap technique works better. Today, the shrink wrap technique with just a plane is working amazingly. In fact, this is going to be great. So I'm just going to make the decoration on the clasp. They're not so many. Let's extrude this. And so this is a way to end. Well, I'm still going to be here, like I said, half an hour for this live stream and tutorial. The tutorial will be published normally in my video list because I am recording. This is the first time I do it like this, which is a lot better because I am recording the live stream, and I will publish it like a normal video also, because many people don't see my live streams. Well, when they miss my live streams, I do have a lot of people watching the stream. It's really nice. Okay, all right, this is really nice. So this is a decoration with the plane. The advantage of using the shrink wrap technique from just a mesh, a plain mesh, is that there's more control, but also because I can simply add, let's take these and let's make a shift D. Now I can move that here and I can start designing right away. Using exactly the same mesh and making my decorations as I go. And this is one of the things that make me love Blender. You can really design. I'm creating this decoration right now. There's not any planned design for this part of the clasp. Like I said, it's inspired from very classical designs from catalogs, jewelry catalogs. And let's try to make this one look attractive. It's really to give a custom touch, a custom design to this the findings that we're using for this Miyuki bead bracelets. And it's one of the parts that I can have fun. It's a bit more creative here. So it's not always easy to design just on the fly like this. Generally, it's not. I never advise people to do that, like just design on the fly and design as you go. You generally will end up with very with very bad looking designs. You should first draw your designs and then make the designs in Blender or whatever software you're using. All right, so okay, I'm not okay, this one went too far, I think, for this side. Okay, we're going to go something like that. This is starting to be interesting here. Okay, I just want to come back also on this side, so if possible come back on the inside. So we'll go more on the inside here, and let's extrude this at least 2 times, and this side 1 and 2. Okay, that's a bit better. All right, and let's come here. Okay, it's a pretty nice decoration also. And I'm going to decorate the bracelet. What I also can do right away is turn on the mirrors, because I want, obviously based on the clasp, I want this to go on the Y, not on the X, and on the Z, because I want the decorations on every side. Okay, and I'm still using the gray material just to have a better look at the design that I'm just creating right now. Well, actually this time really live, and it's a lot of fun. Okay, so the point here is that I'm designing just on the fly as I go, and it's always a nice, well, this is a very nice exercise for creativity. All right, here if you want you can make a cut with the cut tool. That's no problem. Blender has all the tools you need to do whatever you need to be done. Honestly, at this level we have this. Okay, I think it's pretty nice on that side. Okay, now, and I'm going to copy, let's copy another face. So let's take 4 vertices and let's go and start from that corner. So don't forget that this is a shrink wrap and a solidify modifier and a subdivide modifier. It's one of the great ways to make these kinds of designs on another mesh very quickly with a very high level of quality. All right. So okay, let's make this, let's make this here, and this is generally also a bit more spectacular to watch, a lot funnier for the viewers, for you, my dear publics and followers today and right now, than other parts of the tutorial. This part is a lot more fun and impressive to watch, because you can see a design come to life, decorations come to live in Blender, and you can see how the design is progressing by the minute. So I'm not going to fill that part on the left side. I'm going to leave it totally free of decorations, because these are the part where the clasp is well, really grasping the other side. So if we would have decorations there, that would not be very clever, because it would they would be worn out way too quickly, right? Okay, so we have this, we have that. It's pretty cute. Okay, let's take another face. Shift D, let's make a duplicate here, and let's keep on. And this is great also for me to finish today's live stream with this, because it's a lot of fun to be modeling live like this. It's what I enjoy the most, and also that's why many people follow me most of the time. They want to see this kind of work come to life. And okay, we are going to, yes, we are going to. And it's great. It's a great way to smoothly and very friendly finishing this today's stream and tutorial. And I'm really happy with the result, because I was able to show all the aspects I wanted to explain about the Miyuki beads, the Miyuki Corporation, also show a bit of the tradition they have, the history they have at the beginning of the video, and the making, the 3D design of the beads and of the bracelets, and the wiring, the stitching of the wires in between the beads. So don't forget to have a look at other angles like this, to rotate the view when you're designing like this, because suddenly maybe something goes wrong in the 3D space. Never forget to watch all the space, the 3D space, because now I'm just working from the top view, and it's fairly easy to work like that. Here I want suddenly to, okay, yeah, I want to make this side better. Okay, so here I'm going to need another extrusion. Okay, so obviously suddenly I move forward, but then when I see something I don't like, I come back and I work details that, yeah, sometimes you move forward, then you come back. That's all the workflow that you need to develop, practicing a lot. And now also people can see when I'm really working, I'm a lot faster, because now there's not much explained. I'm just designing this, and when I'm designing and working, obviously my workflow is way faster than during tutorials. Obviously, when I need to explain, like now, I need to pause what I'm doing, and I'm not doing this at the real rhythm that I generally work, because obviously I'm also famous for working very accurately and very fast, and that's why my client love to work with me. And also because I guarantee the design with a very high level of guarantee that if you need to change something, I'm going to do the changes very quickly. And some people, well, they I guess they get confused that when I'm explaining things, I'm very slow. That's normal. That's natural. You don't want me to be explaining things very fast. That would not be very friendly to follow. Okay, so you should just understand that explaining things and teaching are very different worlds. All right. Okay, so I still need a couple more decoration. Let's keep on doing this. There are still people joining the live stream now. It's great. Welcome. I'm finishing finishing this modeling part. We still have to make the knots for the wires in the next video, and all the materials and all the rendering and all of that. All right, it's pretty good. Where are we going to go now? Extrude this. I'm just extruding this, extrude that. Okay, that's pretty nice. Let's go here, here. Are we going to... Yes, I guess we're going to make something a bit different here. Okay. I love the way it goes and come back on the other side. So let's make that stronger here. Okay. So obviously now the process is a bit repetitive because, well, I do need to make a decoration on the entire clasp and to join the sides. But nonetheless, it's always very nice to watch and nice to do. Okay, so we have this, we have that. This is pretty great. Okay, pretty great, pretty great, pretty great. So what do you have on that side? Let's go here. Let's make it like that. And okay, I'm going to make this side shorter, and we're going to make a type of floral return here. That's a bit sharp, but I think some parts need to be sharp like this. Okay, okay, all right. So let's copy this side. Let's bring it here, and let's start going the other way. Okay, perfect. Let's see if we can make a very big. No, this one is okay, right? I'm going to go a bit rounder here if I can. Rounder, no. I'm going to keep some. I'm going to keep some. Somewhat. I'm going to keep some sharp. I love the mix of sharp and soft curves. Okay, we have this. This is too big on this side. Let's cut here and there. Now I'm going to make a similar rounded decoration, I think, here. Coming back and coming back on the inside. This is pretty cute. Pretty cute here. Okay, I set this one round. Are we going to keep it round? I think yes. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. So, okay. Obviously, then I'm going to smooth this part. You can see the beginning. This side has the smooth shading, and that side has the flat shading still. That's because I'm just the new faces. They're getting the flat shading by default, which is nice. We can see better the topology of the shapes, and that's why I'm working with this flat shading, and I'm not changing the shading now. And also, like I said, the material is not set. It's the default gray material. Well, the default gray no material in Blender. So here I'm going to, yes, I'm going to change this here. All right. I can go pretty far down here because I just need to avoid the drills. But I can, okay, we can have that. Now the question is, yeah, well, I think I'm going to come back here. Come back here. Okay, that's pretty nice. All right, and okay, now it's just more like a creative highway. I can really enjoy the design, all the hard work I made earlier. Okay, so here I generally like to do this little comeback here. I just need maybe one more like here. All right, this is great. All right, this is great. This is great. Great. Okay, but I do need also another cut right there. Okay, now we're going to complete the design here. That's pretty good, but we need something more on this side. So let's come back here. Let's make a T-shaped arrow here. Is that, yeah, it's pretty nice. Like I said, it won't necessarily be my best design. Well, it depends. Sometimes you make your best design when you just create on the fly. But it's not the recommended workflow. Like I say, I'm just really designing this decoration as it goes, and it's like the work of just filling a space with decoration. Like when you're bored at school, you know, some students do that on paper with a pen. This is exactly the same, filling an area with a pattern and with a non-repetitive pattern. Okay. which is fun. That's true. It's really fun to pass the time. Okay, here do I want it to? I could. I still have some details to check. First, I just create the general shapes pretty quickly, like I'm doing now. And do I want this like... I don't know yet. I think I don't want it. I think I prefer to have it separate, like this, and have maybe this, yes. We'll talk about that later, some other day. Okay, it's pretty nice. Let's go here around the drill, the hole. Oh, it's pretty nice shape. It's pretty nice shape. Okay, I'm liking those shapes. It's really fun to be able to get, well, to do that during a live stream. Honestly, it's a lot of fun. Here I think we're too close. Okay, let's turn on the move pivot for a second so I can work. So here I'm not moving the points. If you can see, all the mesh is on the same plane because this is just a projected shrink wrap modifier with the solidify modifier, which is a very well-known trick in Blender. And this is why we love Blender that much, because the modifiers are amazing. And this is already version 3 of Blender, and they're doing something amazing. I've started using Blender 5 years ago and teaching Blender, yeah, 5 or even already 6 years ago. That's not the point of today's video or live stream. The thing is that I'm already in a position where I can speak about the evolution of Blender in the past years. I wasn't necessarily one of the earliest Blender users at all. That would be a totally wrong claim from me. But for jewelry design, yes, I'm one of the people who introduced many people to using Blender for jewelry design. I can't really say that I was necessarily the first one to do that, and I don't need to claim that. It's not an issue. I don't need to be the first one or claim that. It might also be wrong. But I was one of the earliest people around the world to show that using Blender for high jewelry design is really, really great. That is a correct claim. I was one of the first people to do this at a professional level, at an academic level, because I did this first through my school here in Mexico City. Recall that the school does not exist anymore. I still teach from time to time to advanced and professionals. I do not teach to beginners anymore. I still do my video tutorials on YouTube as a YouTuber. I still love to just show how is my work, my daily work of jewelry designer using 3D design or using Blender. I just don't. I use many softwares, but for 3D I use two softwares, Blender and 3D Design, which is a French software, which is very expensive software for jewelry design, but it's amazingly powerful. Blender is really great, but it's not necessarily specialized in jewelry design. There are some tools that are and will always be missing really in Blender compared to the expensive. Okay, this is really nice. Okay, so what I do want a small sphere here in the middle. So let's make a Shift D, and I'm going to make this side overlap. You can make the mesh overlap. If it's, you can overlap meshes. It's not a problem. Many people think that overlapping is a problem when you are going to export this for 3D printing. It is, generally it is. You should avoid overlappings. Honestly, you should. You should really avoid overlappings. Okay, let's make this. Let's give it a shape to this little decoration here in the middle. It's a bit hard with the mirror turned on. But in very specific occasions, overlappings are not bad for 3D printing. You won't really have, you will need to repair your mesh, obviously with any STL doctor. I already showed that in some tutorials, not that many, but I do have some tutorials that show that, and I already talked about that. I will do that more because I have a new 3D printer, you also know that, and that's great. My 3D printer is working very well, so I'm very happy with that. Okay, here, so this is about it for there. Let's have a general view. Do I like it? Okay, here I don't like this. I don't like this yet. I almost like this, but this is maybe okay. This should, no, sorry, extrude. So I'm just extruding. What I did for almost all the decoration is just extruding two vertices at a time, and that generates the entire design using the shrink wrap and solidify modifier. Okay, so now I'm just going to calm down. This is the end of the tutorial, the live stream. Well, we're coming to the end, which is the end of the modeling part. In the next, because this is obviously an ongoing tutorial, they asked me to talk about Miyuki Delica beads bracelet, which is actually a great idea, even if it's not properly a goldsmith craft at all. This is a beading craft, which is a Japanese beading craft. It's a huge craft around the world. Many people make. Let's go back to what it was all about. Just a second. Where is that? Okay, first, It came from Vietnam Crafts, which is a very proper name for a follower, and asking that if I could talk about the Miyuki Delica bracelets. And obviously many people, even I, didn't know what it was, because here in Mexico we call that very differently. Okay, so the Miyuki bracelets are all these designs which are stitched beads, glass beads. The Miyuki bead is a very high quality glass bead from Japan and a very traditional craft. So many people do this, but here in Mexico we call this the peyote bracelet. I don't know why, but actually if you search peyote, I think, or peyote, well, the peyote is also a plant, peyote beads, or yeah, peyote beads. Okay, it's exactly the same. In fact, it's exactly the same craft. Many people know that under many different names, but it's a type of jewelry that actually is a huge business around the world. But this is a more a craft instead of because we jewelers, we do melt the metal. We use a lot of fire and heavy tools and a lot of machinery and a lot of different tools. We have many more tools than people who make beaded jewelry. But the business is very big around the world, and many people make a lot of money, are very famous artists or crafts people, men and women and children, and many people around the world. So some children make very nice money from a very early age making this kind of jewelry, which is interesting. The thing is that when you turn as a professional, well, people start hiring people to do all the beading, obviously, because some people are very fast and making very high quality beading to make bracelets, earrings, and all type of necklaces also. And it's a very creative field. So now the difference is that we're making this, they ask me to do that in 3D, do that in Blender, and it's a great idea. And like I said, I already made a version of a Miyuki bracelet with metallic beads, with all the stitching with nylon wires inside the beads, the clasp and all of that, a couple of weeks ago, and I promised that I would be doing the tutorial on my channel, and here we are making the first part of the tutorial. And so in the tutorial today, I made all the beading and all the stitching, and I started designing the clasp, the ending clasp, and I wanted, I did a more decorated clasp because it's a lot nicer, and it's based on, where are you? Okay, here. It's based on the Miyuki beads catalog, the Loom and Findings catalog, so it's based on some designs, but obviously I'm making a higher quality decoration on my clasp because it's part of my job to deliver a higher quality design and model. Okay, so this is it here on that side. It's pretty nice. Now let's turn on just the metallic material, which is the gold-plated brass for these friends, and let's turn on the the smooth shading. Thank you, sir. Here we are. And I'm still looking at the details of my decorations here because, well, this could come, yeah, just to it's like a more meditative time now in the tutorial because I'm relaxing more because I achieved what I wanted to talk about, to show, to share with you today during this live stream. And like I said, this time I recorded the live stream and I will publish this one as a normal tutorial, so it's going to get a much wider audience, even if today actually very nice stream because a lot of questions. Thanks also to Eric who answered to Javi because like I said, I did not have time to answer the questions and I did not plan. Sometimes when I do the live streams, it's more about Q&A, and sometimes it's just me wanting to accomplish a specific tutorial or talk about something very specific. So I'm not in a question answering mood or a goal or whatever. So sometimes I just don't answer questions because it's not part of my timing or my plan. Sometimes some people are starting to ask questions that are more interesting for me because, like I said, I've been doing this for decades now. I started 3D modeling 30 years ago, and yes, I do live. I do make a living from 3D modeling and 3D rendering, and also teaching. But like I said, because of the pandemic, I had to close my jewelry school here in Mexico City, and I'm totally changing my business model. So I started working more as a 3D artist again and as a jewelry designer because that was already part of my job. But now I'm focusing a lot more on the 3D working part and selling assets and making designs for custom designs for private clients. This is my main job as well, freelance, but I've been doing this for so many years that I'm a pretty much established designer. In many countries I have clients, so it's not that new to me, but it's the focus that has changed because I quit traditional teaching, and I'm still doing teaching, but for professionals only, and not for beginners anymore because I was really sick. I was really sick of teaching that much. After 17 years of teaching, that's a lot. I was teaching from Monday to Saturday. That's way too much. I was teaching, I don't know, 40 hours a week. Yeah, or even more. That's crazy. But that's also why my work as a teacher or as a school director, because my school became famous around the world. And that was nice because I had a lot of well, I still do have as a person now. That's the difference. Before it was because my institution, my school, became famous, but now I need to work more as a person again, and it's my work as an artist, as a designer, as a 3D modeler, as a sculptor, as all of that needs to become more attractive for more clients. And also that's pretty nice. That's why I love making live streams, working as a YouTuber now also, even if sometimes I don't have really much time to make that many videos. But still, what I love about the channel, and thanks to all the community now, is that my channel is very well alive because I receive very nice challenges or questions or ideas from my followers. So thanks to all of you. Okay, so for today we're good. Like I said, we made the clasp. So obviously we will have here, these are the nylon wires. I will make the real knots, well, 3D knots, because these wires, which are nylon wires, are stitched to the clasps. So that's why the metallic findings, let's go back to the catalog. So this is the official Miyuki bead catalog, which are the looms and findings. So these are endings and clasps for any type of designs. Okay, so I just showed that at the beginning that I was going to to be inspired by the catalog they have, but I was going to make my own design. Let's say I made something similar to this one here, this one with the holes, but I made the holes closer to the edge, and some decoration like that one, and more a triangular shape like that one here, the P9 model. But obviously my model is totally custom and made for my own needs artistic tastes. And okay, so I did all the beading, all the wire stitching, and we will have to make at least a second part, because I still need to make all the knots, complete the shape, because like I said, we need to end up with a bracelet looking render, and make all the materials and all the render settings, which is like the third part of the tutorial and the concept of all of this. But okay, great. So for today, that's already the 2 hours. Yeah, 2 hours and a half. That's crazy. Time just went by flying. That's great, because I'm not that tired. It's time to go to bed, I guess. But but anyway, so thanks to all of you for following me, subscribing, giving me such great idea, for buying my assets. Remember that I do sell assets in the Blender market, which is also a great way to support Blender, because generally at least 5% of my assets, they go to the Blender institution, the Blender fund, to fund the development of Blender. And this is something I really enjoy about my new way of working, my new business model. It's really called it like that, because it is, like I said, I'm still in a transition phase as a person, because like I said, I was the director and owner of a very important jewelry school here in Mexico City. It was it was considered the best school, because I was one of the only people really teaching the full scape, from jewelry drawing, technical drawing, 3D design, 3D printing, manufacturing, making the design, stone setting. I was teaching all that, enameling. Also, we had a beading teachers for quite many years, and the school became really famous. But well, I did that for 17 years. I got really tired and sick of some aspects of the teaching. It was also not very good for my my general life, my social life. It wasn't nice, or even my emotional life. It was not good for my significant other, for my girlfriend. It was a bad. Well, some aspects of my work were I was too exposed. Let's say I was too exposed. That became a too negative side of my life. So I had to end all that teaching. But in fact, came the pandemic, and it was time to retire of that and to close the jewelry school. But obviously, jewelry is my entire life. Well, almost. I'm still a painter. I love to draw and paint a lot, and that's why I became the jewelry artist, because I'm not just a jeweler. I was, and I lived from oil painting and mixed media painting for many years, and that shows in my work. So it's all that transition from being a big business of jewelry school business, but now it's going back to my life, to my soul. Let's call it my soul, really, to my creative soul, and to reconnect to a different type of people, and a different way of making money, and making to make a business grow. And actually, you can see that on the channel through all my tutorials and live streams. I'm talking about many things, but well, today I was able to talk really more specifically of this type of jewelry, and how to make beaded jewelry in 3D using Blender. So that's what we started today. We still have a couple of hours to complete the project. So I'm making a new version of a Miyuki bead bracelet. I'm not making exactly the same one. Actually, I'm making a more attractive one, honestly. Well, this one is pretty nice, but I want nicer colors, and I'm making a better looking clasp, a more complex clasp, and things like that. But also, I was able to talk more clearly about the fact that I am, as a person, and also I'm as a professional, I'm in a very, well, it's quite hard, in fact, but it's really more interesting, because that's what I wanted in my life to go back to a more interesting life, you know, because teaching to beginners, when you have a lot of experience, after that many years, yes, it's really heavy to teach to beginners, because it's like having 100 kids. You can be patient with your kid, with one kid. I don't have kids yet, but I do want to have kids, obviously, because that's also one thing in my life that I still want to do. So, but when you have many beginners and hundreds and dozens of beginners, it's like having hundreds of children. You need to explain everything again and again and again. So obviously at the beginning, I had all the patience in the world, but when you need to repeat something a million times, I'm still human, and you lose the fun in that, and it starts becoming really bad for you, for your brain, for your creativity, for your life, for your emotions. And physically, I became somehow ill of all of that. Okay, but and now, I'm glad that somehow I know that I already started to find a new way through the pandemic, because like I said, I had a jewelry school. Now the school does not exist anymore. It was not possible to keep on working as a school owner and director and teacher. So came the pandemic, but for me it was the perfect time to start changing my life. It was not that much forced, because I was already in that dynamic of changes, of many important changes, but I still have a lot of reconnecting to do, especially on the human side, because, and also obviously I'm not, and also on the business side, but it's connected, because you make money through the people you know, and people who follow you, and people who love you even, in fact. And it's all that process, and it's slow. It's slow. It's naturally slow. You can't. You have to go step by step to create a new way of making money. So obviously, it's harder now, because I used to make quite a lot of money. I owned a school, and schools are generally pretty good businesses, because it's like restaurants. People need to eat. Well, people need to learn. So if you have a restaurant, you generally make nice money, and when you own a school, also you make nice money. And also because my business had already, I've been teaching for 17 years. So after 17 years, you have so much experience in your field that you know your field so well, it's easier to make money. Okay, so, but, life is always interesting, that life makes you change, forces you to change somehow. And if you work it out life brings you to change in a way that you really enjoy, and we should really work and grow that way, and learn that all the changes that life makes us go through, all those challenges, are really for the best, for our best, but also for all the people around us and people who love us. So that's it for today. So blessed and beloved jewelry community, thanks for everything. So we are at a very nice stage now of because the channel is growing, and thank you for following, liking, sharing, asking, buying, loving, etc., etc. And like, as always, be nice to people, be nice to animals, be nice to the planet, and see you soon. Thank you.